Finally, thank you for waiting if you're still there. This is Only Golden Fingers Could Play So Heavy live, chapters 2 and 3, reading from the only printed copy of the book. Chapter 2, 1949, Henry and Juliette. The months since the accident had been hard on Henry. He withdrew into his shell even more and stopped socializing at the stomping grounds. His day-to-day existence returned to getting up at dawn, off to work, back to home, doing a little yard work, listening to the radio, off to bed. His only public outlet was Saturday, when he would do some shopping at the local grocery. He missed Miriam terribly and could barely think of anything else. One Saturday in June, while doing his weekly shopping chore, he noticed Juliette Arden, a new young female clerk at the store. Once again, he was sure this was the woman of his dreams. But he stopped himself, knowing how his past two efforts had failed so badly. Still, he couldn't deny he was attracted to her. Juliette had a fresh face, long brown hair, a cute turned-up nose, and eyes that twinkled. She greeted every customer with a smile and was quick to listen to his or her stories and troubles. She seemed wise beyond her 17 years. Henry learned that Juliette was a recent transplant to California. Her parents had relocated from Kansas, where her father had worked for a local newspaper. Juliette's younger brother, Arthur, was 14, and although he was a good kid, he was also prone to mischief. Juliette had heard of Henry through the grapevine, about the accident that had killed Miriam, but had never met him. When Henry stood in her line at the checkout, she was unaware of who he was. As he moved toward the counter, a slight smile graced his lips, the first in months. "Hi, you new here?" Henry asked. "I've been working here a couple of weeks," Juliette replied. "My family just moved from Kansas. I'm Juliette. And you?" I'm Henry," he stammered, his innate shyness beginning to take over. I work at the chicken hatchery." "I've heard your name around," she said, and Henry brightened up. "Some say you used to play in a band at stomping grounds." "Yeah, a few months ago, before the accident, but I broke my arm and never went back even after it healed," he recalled sadly. "I'm so sorry. I heard about the accident and the poor girl who was killed. Dr. Jonas and his wife shop here, and they still are in mourning." Henry hung his head, and Juliette quickly added, "But they don't blame you. They know that Naylor fellow was drunk and shouldn't have been behind the wheel. It's a shame he didn't get any more jail time. The judge let him off easy." "Seeing him around town makes my blood boil, and I don't even go into the stomping grounds anymore because he still hangs out there," added Henry. The conversation lapsed into an uncomfortable silence while she finished checking out his groceries. And when the final total was paid and Henry began gathering up his bags, she told him to come back and see her again. She enjoyed talking to him. That brief encounter put a little extra spring into Henry's step. He seemed to have a new demeanor that had been months in suppression. Suddenly, Henry felt as if the world existed for him again, and there was possibly a brighter future ahead. For the third time, Henry was in love. Juliette was not so easily smitten. She enjoyed her conversation with Henry, but thought him a little morose. Still, as the week passed, her thoughts often turned to that conversation and how it had started off so happily, but turned dark. She hoped their next encounter would be a little more positive. Her day off was Wednesday, so she decided to see if Henry might like some company at the chicken hatchery. At lunchtime, she stopped by to see if he might be taking a break. She wasn't quite prepared for the stench, and with the noise of the conveyors carrying the eggs for inspection, Henry didn't notice it when she said, "How can you stand it?" Henry looked up, surprised. "Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you," Henry said as he switched off the equipment. "I said, how can you stand it? The smell, I mean," as she wrinkled her nose. "You get used to it, I suppose," he replied. "I've worked here a long time, so I don't really notice it anymore." "I don't think I could ever get used to that," she said. "It's too overwhelming." As a rat scurried between the two of them, Juliette shrieked, and Henry quickly pulled his .22 from the back pocket and shot it. "My hero," Juliette laughed. "That took me by surprise. It's not like it's the first rat I've ever seen. My brother Arthur once found a nest of them in the basement back in Kansas, and let one loose in my room. Now there was a shock." "Your brother sounds like a little brat," declared Henry. "Well, he's okay. He's only 14, and he likes to make a bit of trouble when he thinks he can get me riled. I guess that's what little brothers are for." "Is it just the two of you?" Henry asked. "Well, plus my mom and dad, of course," she giggled. "I've got 8 brothers and sisters, but I'm second oldest, and my youngest brothers are twins, so that made double trouble," Henry replied back. "I miss him, though," as he turned again to silent reverie. After a few moments, Juliette interrupted. "Don't they live around here?" "No," he replied, "they live in North Dakota. But they are coming out to live here in a few months, except for my brother Ed, who's going to take over the family farm." "Well, I'm sure it will be nice to be all together again." "I hope my dad will be able to find a good job," he mused. "He's done nothing but farming all his life, although he does have good handyman skills." "This town could use a good handyman. Perhaps that will suit him," she offered. "My parents have had it hard. If it wasn't for all the kids, my dad might have had to go to war. Lucky for us, he didn't have to," Henry thankfully replied. "My father was the sole breadwinner in the family, so he also didn't have to serve, though he would have been willing to do so if asked," she added. This smell is really getting to me," she continued. "Maybe we can step outside?" "Outside is not really much better, but if you like, we can hop in the car and head over into town for a bite to eat. If I'm not being too forward," Henry asked. "That sounds nice. Let's go." As they left for the car, Henry noticed that he did not smell all that great, and Juliette, while not trying to notice herself, couldn't help wrinkling her nose. "Oh, I forgot about how the smell clings to my clothes. Maybe now is not a good time to head into town. I really need to clean up a bit first." "Perhaps we can do something this weekend?" she asked. "You work on Saturday, don't you?" Henry asked her. "Yes, but I'm off at 4. Dinner? Would you like to eat at our house? That is, if you don't think my brother will be a problem." "I think that would be nice," he said. "May I call in the next couple of evenings?" "Yes, please do. I'm at 6823. Or just ask Gladys, the operator for the Arden House. She can ring us up." "Okay, will do." As Juliet drove off, Henry watched after her, not quite believing all that was happening. Could she be the one? Chapter 3, 1950, Henry and Juliette. When Henry and Juliette had been dating for a year, Henry proposed. Juliette did not hesitate to accept, and they planned on an August wedding. Juliette asked her best friend, Sarah Jennings, to be her maid of honor. Henry asked his brother Ed to be his best man. Juliette was well liked in the community, and several of her friends asked if they could be one of her bridesmaids. Before long, her bridesmaid list was almost as long as the guest list for the wedding itself. Not wanting to offend anyone, she agreed that all of them could be her bridesmaids. But rather than stand at the altar with her, they would occupy the first few pews of the church where the wedding would take place. The local paper saw the novelty of the situation and did a short feature on the day of the wedding. August 12th arrived quicker than anyone could have expected, and they were soon a married couple. They honeymooned at Lake Tahoe, spending a total of 3 days in the splendor of the mountains. When they returned, they moved into Henry's small home, and soon Juliette brought her feminine sensibility to make a real home. Juliette made sure that Henry had clean clothes to wear, and Henry made sure they had plenty of fresh eggs. Juliette kept her job at the grocery store. Henry built a workshop where he could spend time on his projects. When the couple had time to spare, they spent their evenings enjoying radio programs like The Lone Ranger and The Adventures of Superman, and occasionally going out to the movies. Now that most of Henry's family was in town, he was upbeat and largely happy. He enjoyed reading letters from his brother Ed, now back on the family farm, and getting updates on his nephew and niece. Juliette's brother was now in high school and playing on the freshman football team, the Tigers. As a couple, they were like a literal picture of Americana, straight out of Norman Rockwell painting. But all that changed when Henry had the accident that could have taken his life. As Henry clocked in on that fateful Thursday, he went about his work as if it was any other day. Inspection was going fine until the conveyor belt seized up and production came to a halt. Henry went into the motor room and saw that a rat had gotten wedged into one of the gears. Blood and fur were everywhere, and the only way to get it going again was by sheer muscle. He grabbed an iron bar and attempted to lever the mechanism backward so that he could clear the obstruction. The bar slipped. Henry stumbled, falling into the machinery. With his hand crushed into the gears, he screamed out for help. Although his co-workers arrived quickly, it was too late for Henry, and 3 of his fingers had been severed. Henry was rushed to Dr. David Orson, the family physician, for treatment. Although he was able to stitch up the wounds, there was no possibility of saving Henry's fingers. He would never play guitar again. That's the end of chapter 2. I will see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock for chapters 4, 5, and 6.